I heard the screams, these loud cries. It was heart-wrenching. And I said to my husband, do you hear that? And he said, yeah, what is it? And I gave him his dinner and I looked out the window, and that's when I saw a woman coming out of the house, bent over, gasping for breath. And it was like, yeah, she had saw something that was just devastating.
I've seen a lot of things in my career, but this is something that's horrific, it's tragic, it's something that doesn't happen in this community here. I've worked here for a long time, and the worst things we get here are speeding complaints, noise complaints, neighbor complaints.
Police at the time said they believed the shooting was an isolated incident, but when we reached out today for an update on the case or any suspect information, all police would say was, quote, the investigation remains active, and
Brother and sister were murdered. We have arrested a Keith Maurice Jones Jr., who's 16 years of age, who has an address in West Baltimore, in Baltimore City. He was taken into custody early this morning by Baltimore County detectives when they served a search warrant and an arrest warrant for him. He's charged with the homicide of both victims.
It's just after 7 in the evening when a mother pulls into her driveway in Gwynn Oak, Maryland. She's had a long day. She's looking forward to seeing her kids. The house doesn't sound right when she walks in. No TV, no footsteps. She calls out for her son first. He's 9. Then her daughter, 15. Neither one answers. What she finds in the next few minutes will launch a 3-week investigation involving cell phone tower data, a city bus camera, and a name that, once revealed, would surprise almost no one who knew the family. This is what's been made public so far, and only what's been made public. Everyone who knew her called her Gigi. Giovanna Myrie had just wrapped up her first year at Western High School in Baltimore City, and like most 15-year-olds in early July, she had nothing but summer ahead of her. Her brother Steve was 9, young enough that the two of them likely spent that summer break mostly under the same roof, the way siblings with a 6-year age gap often do. Their mother didn't give many interviews after their deaths. When she did speak, through a statement shared with local news, she asked people to remember her children for who they were, not for how they died. At the funeral, held at St. Casimir Church, mourners wore black and yellow on request, the colors Gigi and Steve had each claimed as their favorites. In the first days after the killings, police called it an isolated incident.
It's a very quiet area, and we walk, kids walk in this area, even adults, older people. So this is very alarming to hear.
That single word choice mattered more than it might seem. It was the difference for a frightened neighborhood between a threat that had passed and one that hadn't. Whether that distinction would hold up was still an open question. The account that's emerged is simple and grim. Around 7:20 p.m., the children's mother arrived home and called 911. Responding officers found Steve shot inside a bedroom. They found Gigi shot in the hallway. Reporters pressed for details in the days that followed and got very few. At an early briefing, the police chief said investigators weren't yet ready to discuss forced entry, the weapon involved, or whether anyone was already under suspicion. That silence stretched on. Days turned into 2 weeks. The family laid their children to rest without an arrest, without a name, without an answer to the only question that mattered to them.
Church bells sounded outside St. Casimir Church in Canton as family and friends surrounded the caskets holding the bodies of 15-year-old Gigi Myrie and 9-year-old Steve Allen. those in attendance wore black and yellow at the request of the family and in honor of the siblings' favorite colors. Their mother allowed us to share these pictures of her children in a statement writing, "Steve and Gigi were deeply loved by so many, and their love, laughter, and beautiful spirits will forever remain in our hearts."
While the public waited, investigators were assembling a timeline out of pieces that, on their own, meant very little. One came from an MTA bus camera, which reportedly captured a passenger stepping off near the neighborhood at 4:14 in the afternoon. Around the same time, other cameras positioned on nearby streets allegedly picked up someone walking on foot toward the Myrie Allen home. Then came the cell phone data. According to investigators, a device tied to a person of interest ended up near the crime scene by 4:22 p.m., just 3 minutes, notably, after a call had reportedly gone out to Gigi's phone. There was one more detail that stood out among the rest: a change of clothes. Around 5:08 p.m., roughly 40 minutes after that first sighting near the bus stop, surveillance footage reportedly showed someone in a different outfit, moving quickly through the same area. None of it, on its own, was proof of anything. But laid side by side, the pieces were starting to draw a line, one that pointed towards somebody the family already knew. 2 weeks after the killings, on July 22nd, Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough stepped in front of cameras with an update. There was an arrest.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Robert McCullough of the Baltimore County Police Department. I'm here with County Executive Catherine Mossmeyer and County Councilman Julian Jones. This evening, we'd like to announce that we've made an arrest in the July 7th homicide involving Giovanna, Myrie, and her brother Steve Allen. If you remember back on that date,
The person accused was 16 years old, a student at City College High School, and, according to police, someone both children already knew. More specifically, someone who'd had a personal relationship with Gigi. A witness told investigators that relationship had been going on for roughly 2 months before the shooting. That same witness described a FaceTime call 3 days earlier, on July 4th, during which the suspect was allegedly seen holding a handgun and making a threat that there would be consequences if Gigi got involved with anyone else. Investigators later said messages recovered from Gigi's phone appeared to support what the witness described. It's worth being precise about what this is. A witness account and a set of phone records are allegations laid out by police and prosecutors to justify an arrest, not conclusions reached by a court. Whether they'd hold up under scrutiny was a question. For the next phase of the case, not this one. The following day, the accused appeared by video in Baltimore County District Court. He said nothing. His attorney waived the bond hearing on his behalf, though he noted that decision could be revisited as more information.
Unspeakable tragedy. Our hearts and sympathies are with the victims and their families. But I would ask everyone to understand that we're only at the very beginning of this investigation. Our investigation hasn't really even started. The Baltimore County Police, I'm certain their investigation is continuing. Our client, like every other citizen in the United States of America, is entitled to the presumption of innocence. So I would ask everyone to understand that this case is going to go on for quite a while, and I would ask everyone to reserve judgment, afford my client his constitutional right to the presumption of innocence, and reserve judgment until the actual evidence is presented in a courtroom where it could be challenged in our adversarial system.
Came out. The defense also asked that the teenager be held in a secure juvenile facility rather than an adult detention center. A judge said no, pointing both to the severity of the allegations and to safety concerns for the other juveniles already being held there. Legal analysts who'd been following the case flagged one complication for prosecutors. No firearm had been recovered, at least based on what's been reported. one attorney, speaking to local media, acknowledged that trying a murder case without the weapon involved is harder, but far from rare, since cases like this are still convicted more often than not. By the end of July, sources confirmed that a grand jury had returned an indictment. The 16-year-old now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder, along with 3 weapons-related charges. The case moves next to circuit court. No trial date has been set. No verdict exists. What's on the record right now is an indictment, a set of unproven allegations, and a mother who buried both of her children before anyone had even been charged. Stories like this usually get one news cycle's worth of attention before the cameras move on to the next thing, even though the legal process itself is only getting started. That's often where the real accountability, or the real doubt, actually gets sorted out, far from any headline. This one isn't finished. When it is, a trial, a plea, some other resolution, it'll be worth telling the rest of it honestly, instead of filling in an ending nobody has written yet. Follow Trial of Clues for more update on this case, like, comment, and share. No gun, no confession, no fingerprints left behind at the scene. When Baltimore County detectives started working the deaths of Gigi Myrie and her brother Steve, they didn't have the kind of evidence that makes for an easy case. What they had instead was a cell phone tower, a city bus, and a handful of home security cameras that happened to be pointed the right way at the right time. This is how a case gets built when the murder weapon is still missing, and why, increasingly, that's not the obstacle it used to be. 2 weeks. That's how long Baltimore County Police had a homicide scene. 2 grieving parents. 1 grieving, in this case, since it was the mother who found her children, and no named suspect. In the earliest days of a case like this, investigators aren't chasing one lead. They're gathering dozens of small, disconnected fragments, hoping some of them eventually point the same direction. A 911 call. A first walkthrough of the scene, initial witness canvassing in the neighborhood. None of it on day 1 tells you who did it. It tells you where to start looking. For the Gwynn Oak case, 3 sources ended up mattering more than any other. Location data pulled from cell phones, video captured by cameras that had nothing to do with the case until they did, and people who knew the victims well enough to notice something was wrong before the police did. Cell phone location evidence sounds high-tech, but the underlying idea is old. Every time a phone connects to a network, it pings the nearest tower. That ping gets logged. Multiple pings over time create something close to a rough map of where a phone, and usually its owner, has been. It's not GPS precise. It's closer to this phone was in this general area at this specific time. But paired with something more exact, like a call log, it becomes far more useful. Investigators in this case reportedly used exactly that combination. A phone placing a call to Gigi's number, and that same phone's location data putting it near the scene minutes later. That kind of evidence rarely stands alone in a courtroom. What makes it powerful is what happens when it lines up with something else entirely. Something that has no idea a phone tower exists. Public transit cameras exist to catch fare evasion and the occasional altercation on board. They are not designed as investigative tools, but because they run constantly and because they're time-stamped, they become one almost by accident. According to charging documents, an MTA bus camera reportedly captured someone stepping off near the neighborhood at 4:14 in the afternoon on July 7th, wearing a black t-shirt, light blue headphones. It's a small, almost forgettable detail. A stranger getting off a bus. Except that detail now had a timestamp, and that timestamp could be checked against everything else investigators were collecting. This is often how modern investigations actually work. Not one dramatic piece of footage that solves everything, but a series of ordinary cameras. A bus, a doorbell, a neighbor's driveway, that were never meant to be evidence until several of them line up around the same 15-minute window. Home security systems have quietly turned entire blocks into overlapping surveillance networks, whether residents think of it that way or not. In the Gwynn Oak case, investigators reportedly pulled footage from cameras near the home that captured someone walking toward the residence not long after the bus sighting. Then separately, cameras elsewhere in the neighborhood reportedly caught the same person again about 40 minutes later, this time in different clothes, moving quickly. A change of outfit on its own proves nothing. People change clothes. But investigators don't look at any single detail in isolation. They look for whether the pieces, stacked together, tell a coherent story, and whether that story holds up when it's checked against everything else. The phone data, the timeline from the 911 call, the witness statements. Cameras and cell towers can place a person somewhere. They can't explain why. That's where witness accounts come in. And in this case, according to charging documents, one witness account did a lot of work. A person known to both Gigi and the suspect reportedly told investigators the two had been in a relationship for about 2 months. That same witness described a FaceTime call 3 days before the killings, during which the suspect was allegedly seen holding a handgun and allegedly made a threat tied to jealousy. Investigators say they cross-referenced that account against messages recovered from Gigi's phone. A step that matters, because a single witness statement is only as strong as what else supports it. When a human account and a digital record start describing the same thing independently, that's typically when an investigation shifts from person of interest to arrest. As of the latest reporting, no firearm connected to the shooting has been recovered. That's a real gap. Ballistics evidence, matching a specific gun to spent shell casings or bullets, is often one of the most concrete links a prosecution can offer a jury. Without it, cases lean harder on everything else. The timeline built from cameras and cell data, the physical evidence collected at the scene, and witness testimony. A Baltimore area attorney who reviewed the case for local media noted that prosecuting without the weapon is more difficult, but pointed out that the majority of cases missing a recovered firearm still result in convictions, because juries are increasingly used to being shown exactly this kind of circumstantial, timeline-based case. Whether that holds true here is something only a trial will determine. None of the evidence described here, bus cameras, cell towers, doorbell footage, phone messages, existed as standard investigative tools 20 years ago. Together, they've changed what a homicide investigation actually looks like in a place like Baltimore County in 2026. Fewer cases now hinge on a single smoking gun. More of them hinge on dozens of small, independently unremarkable data points that only become meaningful once they're placed next to each other. That's both the strength of modern investigations and their central risk. A timeline built from a dozen sources is powerful. It's also only as good as the judgment used to assemble it, which is exactly why cases like this one still have to go through a courtroom and why an indictment is a beginning, not an ending. The Gwynn Oak case is still headed there. What a jury eventually makes of this evidence hasn't been decided yet. But before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thought on this case.